The van rattled down the long stretch of country highway under the bright afternoon sun, the kind of day where everything seemed too calm, too peaceful for something terrible to be happening inside that rusty white vehicle. But behind the dust-covered rear window, a small trembling hand slowly lifted a crumpled piece of paper toward the glass. The words written in shaky letters were simple, heartbreaking, and desperate: kidnapped, help. 8-year-old Marina Hale held the sign with the last bit of strength she had left, praying that someone, anyone, would notice. Her heart pounded as sunlight cut across the empty road, and for a moment she thought her message would disappear into the stillness. But just then, parked off to the side of the road near their motorcycles, a group of bikers began looking up, squinting toward the van that had slowed as it passed them. If you believe in kindness, in bravery, and in second chances, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel Hope Fuse. It truly helps us bring more meaningful stories to you. As the van continued forward, Marina saw the sudden shift in the bikers' expressions among them. Was Grant Maddox, the respected leader of the RIDG Horn Riders Motorcycle Club. He stood with his powerful frame marked by age scars, and the kind of wisdom earned through a difficult life. His salt and pepper beard caught the bright daylight as he stared at the rear of the van, trying to make sense of what he had just seen. His fellow riders, Silas, Draven, a massive man with a shaved head, Rowan Vale, calm and sharp-eyed, and Briar Leone, younger but fiercely loyal, slowly turned their heads in the same direction. They had seen it. They had all seen it. The fragile, terrified face of a little girl pressed to the window, holding a silent scream written on paper. Grant's heart tightened. He had seen fear before, had lived in a world where danger often hid behind forced smiles and quiet streets. But the fear in that child's eyes was something different, something that didn't give him in time to think, only time to act. The bikers exchanged only glances, but that was enough. Their helmets came on, their boots hit the pavement, their engines roared to life as if awakened by fury itself. Meanwhile, inside the van, Marina fought to stay brave. Her small hands ached from gripping the sign so tightly. Her kidnapper, Trevor Calling, a troubled man spiraling deeper into his own darkness, had taken her hours earlier when she was walking home from school. The van smelled of gasoline and old burlap, and every bump in the road sent fear crawling deeper into her chest. Trevor muttered angrily to himself as he drove, oblivious to the bikers behind him, convinced he could disappear into the back roads before anyone even noticed the girl missing. But Marina hadn't given up. She remembered her mother always told her that courage didn't always look like loud bravery. It sometimes looked like small acts done with shaking hands. So she wrote her desperate message on a torn flyer she found under the seat, using an old marker she found in the door pocket. She pressed it to the rear window just as the van passed those bikers, not realizing they would become the answer to her silent plea. Within seconds, the bikers had taken formation. The midday sun glinted off the chrome of their motorcycles as they sped after the van. Grant rode in the lead shoulder's tense mind, focused. He didn't know who the girl was, he didn't know where she came from, but the fear he saw in her eyes sliced through every memory he had buried inside himself. The memories of times no one came for those who needed rescuing. Not again, not today. The van jerked left, then right, as Trevor noticed motorcycles growing fast in his mirrors. Panic spread across his face. He pressed the accelerator, but the bikers were faster. Grant signaled his men silently there. Movements practiced and precise. Rowan veered left to block traffic. Silas sped ahead on the right side to force the van closer to the shoulder. Briar stayed behind, ensuring no vehicle interfered. The highway stretched out endlessly. But the bikers were closing the distance with every second inside the van. Marina pressed her hands harder against the glass, new tears forming. As she felt the vehicle speed up, she didn't know who these bikers were, whether they were safe or dangerous, but she saw them chasing, refusing to fall back. Something inside her whispered that hope was finally on her side. Grant pulled up close enough to see the van's back window clearly. When he saw Marina again, her scared face, her trembling hands, her teary eyes, it ignited something powerful in him. The world suddenly felt sharper, more urgent. The sun above, the wind, the road beneath his wheels. All of it narrowed into a single purpose: save the child. He motioned Silas. The massive biker accelerated, forcing the van closer to the side of the road. Trevor shouted in frustration, trying to control the vehicle, but his panic made him sloppy. Grant seized the moment. He revved hard, coming alongside the driver's window just long enough for Trevor to see the fury in his eyes. A warning without words, a promise that this was over. The van swerved again and finally skidded to a messy halt on the gravel shoulder. Dust clouded the air as the bikers braked hard, surrounding the vehicle from all sides. Grant jumped off his motorcycle before it fully stopped, his boots hitting the gravel as he moved toward the back door. Trevor scrambled out, attempting to run, but Silas caught him in seconds, pinning him to the ground with a resolute force. Grant reached the back door just as Marina stepped away from the window, her hands trembling, her breath shaking. When he opened the door, sunlight poured inside, bright and warm, in contrast to the dark fear she had lived in for hours. She hesitated for only a second before running straight into Grant's arms. Her sobs were quiet, exhausted, but filled with immense relief. Grant held her gently, careful with every movement, as if she were made of something fragile and precious. As Marina's tears soaked into his vest, Grant looked over the open highway and felt something shift inside him. He had lived years believing the world was filled with too much darkness to fight, but holding this frightened child proved otherwise. Sometimes, one moment of courage, one cry for help was enough to change everything. Hours later, when Marina was safely returned to her mother and Trevor was taken away by the authorities, the bikers stood together outside their clubhouse. Under the steady daylight, Grant watched the quiet road where they had chased the van earlier. He knew they were rough men far from perfect, but today showed him that even the roughest souls carried light inside them, light that could save lives if they chose to use it. As the story of their rescue spread through town, people realized something powerful. Kindness didn't always come from where you expected. Sometimes it roared across the asphalt on two wheels, wearing black leather and carrying a heart that refused to back down. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Hope Fuse to support more emotional and meaningful stories. Before you go, tell us in the comments, what would you have done if you saw a child signaling for help?